There is something deeply isolating about being the person who cries too easily. You know exactly what I am talking about. It happens in a meeting when your manager delivers feedback that is not even that harsh, and suddenly your throat tightens, your vision blurs, and you are doing everything in your power to blink it back. It happens when someone raises their voice slightly, when you feel misunderstood, when you watch a commercial, when you get frustrated trying to explain yourself, and the words just collapse under the weight of emotion. And then comes the second wave, which is almost worse than the crying itself. The shame. The sense that your body has betrayed you again, that you are too much, that you cannot control yourself, that everyone noticed. You have tried the usual approaches. You tried telling yourself to toughen up. You practiced holding your breath. You thought about something else, looked at the ceiling, dug your nails into your palm. Maybe someone told you to think of something funny, or to count backward from 10, or to just breathe deeply. And maybe some of those things bought you 3 or 4 seconds of delay before the flood came anyway. The problem was never your willpower. The problem was never that you were weak or emotionally immature or too sensitive. The problem is that every single one of those methods was trying to override a biological system using the wrong interface. You were trying to rewrite code in a language the operating system does not recognize. Here is what is actually happening inside your nervous system. Your brainstem houses a structure called the locus coeruleus, which produces norepinephrine and acts as an alarm broadcaster. When it detects emotional overload, whether from sadness, frustration, feeling unseen, or even sudden joy, it sends a cascade of signals down the vagus nerve and through the autonomic nervous system. Your heart rate spikes, your throat constricts, your lacrimal glands receive activation signals. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational regulation and behavioral control, gets flooded and goes partially offline. Neuroimaging studies consistently show reduced prefrontal activation during acute emotional flooding. You literally lose access to your own regulation center at the exact moment you need it most. The autonomic nervous system operates in 2 primary modes. The sympathetic branch accelerates everything: heart rate, arousal, threat response, tear production. The parasympathetic branch decelerates everything. In people who cry easily, especially those with a history of emotional sensitivity or chronic stress, the sympathetic branch has developed a hair trigger. The threshold between baseline and activation is razor thin. The system is not broken. It is a finely tuned threat detection machine, calibrated in an environment that no longer exists, trained by experiences that taught the nervous system that emotions must be expressed immediately. Or by the opposite, an environment where suppression was demanded so long that the system now overflows at any crack in the dam. If you have been living this way for years, share this video right now with someone who needs to hear this. Because what I am about to tell you is not what the self-help industry wants you to believe. They want to sell you journaling prompts and emotional intelligence frameworks. Those are not useless, but they operate at the cognitive level, and the problem you have is subcortical. It lives below thought. It lives in the body. The technique operates through a physiological backdoor that most people do not know exists, a direct line from your respiratory system to your brainstem's alarm center. This backdoor is the afferent pathway of the vagus nerve. About 80% of vagal fibers are afferent, meaning they carry signals from the body up to the brain, not the other way around. Your lungs, your diaphragm, and the mechanical pressure sensors inside your thoracic cavity send constant real-time data to your brainstem. When you alter the pattern of your breathing with precision, you are injecting data directly into the source code of your emotional regulation system. The technique is called the physiological sigh, with extended parasympathetic lock, and it works in 3 phases. The first phase is the double inhale. You breathe in through your nose until your lungs are about 70% full. Then, without exhaling, you take a second sharp sniff to fill the remaining 30%. This reinflates the alveoli, small air sacs that collapse during emotional distress, activating stretch receptors that send an immediate signal up the vagus nerve to the brainstem. The system is not in crisis. This interrupts the norepinephrine cascade before it reaches full activation. The second phase is the critical one. You exhale slowly and completely through your mouth, taking roughly twice as long as both inhales combined. If your double inhale took 4 seconds, your exhale should take 8 to 10. During exhalation, your heart rate naturally decelerates due to changes in intrathoracic pressure. A slow, extended exhale amplifies this deceleration. The drop in heart rate is detected by baroreceptors in your aorta and carotid arteries, which signal safety to your brainstem. The alarm broadcaster stands down. Your prefrontal cortex comes back online. The window between feeling the surge of emotion and losing control of it begins to widen. The third phase is what most people miss. After the extended exhale, you hold the empty breath, lungs fully deflated, for 4 to 6 seconds before the next cycle. This end expiratory pause applies the vagal brake with maximum force. Your system does not just calm down, it undergoes active downregulation. The neural circuits associated with threat and emotional overflow begin to quiet at a cellular level. Subscribe right now and stay with me, because the simplicity here is the point. Your nervous system did not become dysregulated through complexity. It became dysregulated through repetition, and simple, precise, repeated intervention is exactly what rewires it. Here is how you use this in real life. You begin practicing in low-stakes moments. First, not when you are already crying. You practice it in the morning, before you get out of bed, while waiting for coffee. During transitions between tasks, 3 to 5 cycles each time, following the double inhale, extended exhale, empty pause structure. What you are doing in these moments is not stress management. You are performing calibration. You are telling your brainstem, through direct biological communication, that the default baseline of your body is safety, not alert. After 1 week, you begin using it proactively, before medium-stakes situations, before a difficult conversation, before entering a room where emotions might surge. 2 full cycles before going in, not to suppress emotion, but to widen the regulatory window and keep your prefrontal cortex online when the signal arrives. After 2 weeks, the technique begins working in real time, mid-moment, because the motor pattern is practiced enough to remain accessible even when cognition is partially compromised. What was once effortful becomes semi-automatic. The circuit gets myelinated. The response becomes faster and more reliable. The maintenance of this system matters as much as the initial installation. Sleep is the primary mechanism. During slow-wave sleep, your brain clears the metabolic byproducts of emotional processing, and even 90 minutes of deprivation measurably degrades prefrontal function. Movement is the second mechanism. Because rhythmic bilateral activity, walking, swimming, running, reduces amygdala hyperreactivity at the structural level. You are not just getting fit, you are performing neural maintenance on your regulation hardware. The third mechanism is social co-regulation. Human nervous systems evolved in groups and regulate each other through proximity, eye contact, and touch. If you are isolated, your sympathetic system raises its baseline as a threat preparedness response. Comment below if you have noticed you cry more easily when you have been isolated. The data here is consistent and it matters. What you are building is not emotional numbness. The goal is not to stop feeling deeply. Deep emotional sensitivity correlates with high empathy, strong social cognition, and creative intelligence. These are neurological assets. What you are engineering is the gap between stimulus and response, the regulatory infrastructure that gives you choice. The person you are becoming does not necessarily cry less. They cry when they choose to, when the moment calls for it. They do not cry when their nervous system is simply overwhelmed by inadequate regulation. That distinction is the difference between emotional expression and emotional dysregulation. One is a sign of aliveness. The other is a sign of a system that needs calibration. If this changed the way you understand your own nervous system, share this with one person who has ever said they cry too easily and felt ashamed of it, because shame is the most expensive tax you can pay on a problem that has a biological solution. Hit like if you are going to try the double inhale technique today. Your system is not broken, it just needs the right signal. And now you know how to send it.